I think of these pieces as being less connected to art history and more connected really to the relationship between evolution and the planet. I mean, here we've got industrially made fossils, essentially, of the human species. They're materialization of a space that a human body once occupied, but by implication invite a kind of empathic, imaginative inhabitation. But because of the way that they're placed, they relate, I think, more to the earth. I think that what is made here is a repositioning of the relationship of body to ground, figure to ground, that asks big questions. What is a human being, and what is a human being's relationship to the planet? Then maybe art historical references. It's very important to me that, unlike the statue of Walpole, who in an imperial kind of Roman toga gestures to the ground, here is my demesne, here are my lands, and this is my offering to you. But on the understanding that we treat him as big boss. These have no gestures, they are simply bodies in space, not doing anything without any rhetorical gesture, simply saying, here is a register, an index of human being that invites you to register your own. So you become then the subject of a field, and perhaps are encouraged to reflect on your own experience. And yeah, for me the excitement is these are still silent, embedded bits of earth, who have, I think, as their natural kind of reference the standing stone, you know, the stones of Stennes or the Rollright stones or whatever, that ask us to reconsider our relationship to both space and time. And they do it then in this rather particular, quite recent historical, political, British context.
And these have all been placed at the same level, not in relation to the surface of the ground, but actually.
Yes, I mean, as an imposed, if you could say, this is an imposed slicing through the apparent topography. And what's uncanny is that, you know, everybody says, oh, well, you know, Norfolk's flat. Well, it is all, like all things, relative. It is relatively flat. And I mean, what this does is simply demonstrate or make more apparent what was left to us at the end of the Pleistocene. I mean, essentially, you know, William Kent may have done a lot of brilliant landscape design, but it's pretty superficial in relation to what was left by the formation of the chalk geological layers that were laid down in the Cenozoic. And then what, during the Pleistocene, the great ice sheets did in terms of actually making these glacial plains, these laid down bits of sand and loam that essentially is the topography of the place. The way that these make you aware that the visible surface of things is maybe less important than, as it were, the inherited topography that comes from, deep time.
You've very rarely used female bodies. Is that just because you're male and it makes more sense to use yourself?
Yeah, I think that I didn't get asked whether I should be born with a penis. And for me, I wanted to counter the norm kind of view of the male artist, in a way making a surrogate body out of clay, interpreting a body seen at a distance often female and often naked, by something else. And to use my existence and my body, the only bit of the material world that I happen to inhabit, from the other side of appearance. So no distance, using, as it were, this subjective experience of the present time reality of being in a body, and then registering that. So these are all the result of 23 molds that were made in 2003 to 2005, and they're just they're all subtly different. I mean, all 23 of them. Some of them more relaxed, some of them more sort of stiff, but all, I think, consciously being rather than doing. So there's no gesture. It's just this three-dimensional freezing of a time. And what I'm hoping is that the subjectivity and the immediacy of this time taking is then becomes an invitation to the viewer to take time, to become a participating part of, in a way, the experience of this field.
You were brought up strictly Catholic in a Jewish area of North London, and then went and studied Buddhism.
Yeah.
Where does the spiritual element come into this?
I think that Buddhism gave me a technique of allowing first-hand experience to be examined. And I don't know whether I make huge or can make huge spiritual claims. I think that what I would like to think is that my work is an attempt to allow sculpture to become a reflexive instrument in which, the direct first-hand palpable experience of the viewer becomes, in a way, the subject under examination. And I think, you could say that's what meditation is, and I would say that is what the active contemplation that is, in a way, the invitation of good art is also a form of meditation. And if it is answered, if that invitation is answered, I think it can lead to renewal and healing and rebalancing.